What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king. Welcome back to more Let's Play Pokemon Black and White 2. In the last episode, after emerging victoriously from Reversal Mountain, battling every trainer we could inside, as well as grabbing all the items that we can get, we finally made it here to Undella Town, which is unfortunately mostly a town that we can't do much with until later. Like, there's a villa here that we can't really deal with till later. There's a bigger mansion here that we can't deal with till later. And then there is this thing, the marine tube, that we can't deal with till later. But at least we were able to battle Hugh outside of the gate here, and there is still a number of things left for us to do. I grabbed all of the items in the last episode, or at least most of the items in the last episode, but there are still a few things out here in Undella Bay that I want to take care of. But I also want to address the elephant in the room, because I said in the last episode that after we take care of Undella Bay, we're going to head north, and that is mostly true, but there is one other thing I actually want to do before that. So technically, after you are done here in Undella Bay and Undella Town, you're supposed to go north, because that is the way to Opelousas City. You got a route there, and then you're going to go to another town and all this extra stuff in due time. However, there is a route that is actually south of here, Route 14, which technically leads to nothing. It is a dead end. There are trainers over there, though, and there are items to be had, much of which we can actually get right now. You can't explore the entire route just yet, because some of it you need the Waterfall HM for, but I still think it would be a good idea to take care of that now, because many of those trainers are at level, and I really don't want to waste that experience for the post-game when we're going to be fighting them and they're all going to be in the high 30s when my Pokemon are sitting around the 50s. I think that would just be a very silly thing to do. So we're going to take care of them, at least in part in this episode. But first, we have to get through Undella Bay, as there is a bunch of trainers around here, as well as some items to grab, although there's only one item left to grab now that I grabbed that Draco plate. And then there is also a cave that I want to talk about, as well as some new Pokemon in this area. And those new Pokemon are Mantike, Spheal, Remoraid, and, specifically in Water Ripples, Wailmer. Mantike is a water and flying type Pokemon that evolves into Mantine when leveling up, with Remoraid also in the party. Can someone say special defense? Because that's really all this Pokemon is good for, sadly. Its special attack is only slightly above average, and everything else is just pedestrian or worse. On top of that, the only good flying type move it can take advantage of is Air Slash, which it learns at level 36, and none of its water moves are particularly exciting. And on top of everything else, most of the TMs it's capable of learning are physical moves, not special, which really just adds the mediocre cherry on top of this mediocre sundae of mediocrity. All the flying type really did was add a weakness and enhance another, while negating just one. It's not incredibly helpful otherwise. I think the only time I would use this Pokemon is if I were challenging myself to a water type only run, and I needed something that would do well against grass and bug types, but that's really it, I'm afraid. Spheal is an ice and water type Pokemon that evolves into Celio at level 32 and again into Walrein at level 44. Now, my Gen 3 heart is happy here, because we got some great representation here in a Pokemon that has very few flaws. Its speed is its worst stat, but actually quite average still, which is great here in Unova, and every other stat is solid at the very least. Where this Pokemon falls short is in the moves it learns, which both from leveling up and from TMs are quite lacking in diversity. Water, normal, and ice type moves are mostly what you're saddled with, unfortunately. But everything it can do, it does very, very well. And while I wouldn't pick this Pokemon over Samurott or probably even Starmie, I would pick it over most other water types in this generation. Remoraid is a pure water type Pokemon that evolves into Octillery at level 25. It is also necessary for evolving Mantike into Mantine, which we just covered, but yeah. Two uses to this Pokemon. Unfortunately, neither one is all too compelling. Octillery tries to have a balanced physical and special attack with low speed, which I've said before that generally picking a lane and staying in it is the best thing you can want out of a Pokemon. Not to mention its moveset heavily favors special attack, so all those points into physical attack mostly just feel wasted. If it were faster, I think we could work with this, but it's slow and its defenses are average at best, so all in all, I just can't recommend this line over Walrein or Mantine, let alone Samurott and Starmie. Wailmer is a pure water type Pokemon that evolves into Wailord at level 40. The HP stat monster of the sea. This Pokemon's entire use case is baked into its signature move, Water Spout, which is a very powerful water move if the user has most or all of their HP still. You could also argue that due to Wailord's immense weight that it works pretty well with Heavy Slam, which it doesn't learn until level 70. Unfortunately, that's the most credit I can give it, because every other stat on this thing is barely above average or just outright bad. Wailord is a Pokemon I exclusively use as a dedicated Water HM specialist. Give it Waterfall, Dive, Surf, and then maybe Strength, and you've got probably the most useful service this Pokemon can provide locked and loaded. Otherwise, it's just not very inspiring. Okay, and with all of that out of the way, I also want to do one more thing. So, going through this entire route, everybody's got water Pokemon, and as over-leveled as Kamina is right now, I think it would be clinical malpractice to try to get through this entire route and not use my one Pokemon that is very good against water types. So what I have done is I have taken the liberty of giving the experience share to Farina, and I am just going to let Kamina do all of the heavy lifting. We're just going to discharge our way through absolutely everything so we can get this done as quickly as possible, because I know she's going to one-shot everything that gets thrown at us. Why would you not do that? It would be stupid not to. I should also mention, there is one other thing about Undella Bay. In Pokemon Black and White 2, although depending on which version it behaves slightly differently, once a week you will have a Jellicent that will float into the bay that you can walk up and interact with, much in the same way that we caught our Braviary all the way back in the desert just north of Castelia City. And same concept essentially. You can catch it once per week, and it will have its hidden ability, which in Jellicent's case is Damp. Now, Damp is an ability that prevents all damage from explosion and self-destruct and some other moves that would be added to later games. But anything that's basically an all-out attack like that is not going to do any damage when the Damp ability is in effect. It's not a great hidden ability, if I'm being completely honest with you, and honestly, Jellicent isn't really all that great of a Pokemon anyway, but it's there. It's an option. It's a thing you can go after, although I should mention that there is a version difference in that Black 2 only will encounter a male Jellicent, and he only appears on Mondays, while White 2 will only encounter a female Jellicent who only appears on Thursdays. So that is the difference between those. I mean, we talked about Jellicent in the last game. It's okay. It's a little bit of a special defensive Pokemon that has some really high HP and some okay defenses, but not a lot of offense. There's not a real giant reason to go after it. In fact, especially in this game, as I just went over some of those Pokemon in the bios that are just, in my opinion, just better water types in general. Like, honestly, Jellicent is incredibly similar to Mantine, just with different typing. And I would go as far to say Jellicent is arguably better than Mantine, but that's probably it. I don't know if I take Octillery over Jellicent, but I would certainly take, I'd probably take Wailord over it, and I would certainly take Walrein, because I absolutely love that Pokemon. But there's also other water types that are absolutely available as well, which we already went over at one point in the playthrough. Well, I guess we should go over it now, because technically it is also available now, but it's a little bit complicated. We'll get into it a little bit more once we get into the next area, actually. And by the next area, I mean Route 14, because I got some Pokemon to go over there as well. And those are water types I definitely prefer. And this is all due to the fact that we now have the ability to surf, which, I've been over Basculin and whatnot, but there is another one that has become immediately available to say. In fact, actually two that have become immediately available to us, although, thanks to the ability to get in the water. Is it two? No, it's actually just one. Sorry, we need a fishing rod for the other one, so never mind. I won't even talk about that one yet. In due time, everybody. In due time. But for now, like I said, we're just going to rip through all of these trainers. It's all about power leveling Farina again, who is now kind of the most dead weight on the team, just due to the fact that he is the only not fully evolved member. In due time, though, once he is fully evolved, he will absolutely be able to carry his own weight. In fact, I would very much like to get Farina evolved before we get to the Opelousas Gym. I don't know how realistic of an ask that is, but I will certainly try. In fact, it's what I'm saving my rare candies for at this point. But it's also not something I'm completely banking on. Look at Kamina go. So inspirational. I'm so proud of her. She really is actually like the best member of our team in this playthrough so far. But it's also just because I haven't had a lot of opportunities to use some of my other team members. I mean, Jack has obviously gotten plenty of screen time, but Tomoe has not. And neither has, definitely my Volcarona, who is back in the box again, of course. But that's going to be remedied here somewhat soon. As soon as I'm able to get to the next move tutor, we will go over how to fix my Volcarona situation. Because by learn set, yes, he is incredibly limited. He is not going to get anything even remotely good until level 50. So we're just kind of waiting it out. But the point of Volcarona is to be much more of an endgame boss anyway, and we're definitely going to see a lot more out of him once we actually hit the post-game, I promise. In fact, he's probably going to end up replacing Farina for the most part. And then Zoroark, like I said, they're going to be the two that kind of take most of the back seat, I think, in the later game. But all right, this is going to be our last trainer here. We already grabbed all the items. I should go over those plates really quickly because I believe those are the first plates we've gotten in the game, the Splash Plate and the Draco Plate. These are necessary for the legendary Pokemon Arceus, who uses them to change its typing, but mainly through the move Judgment, which is his signature move, and changes accordingly to that held item. You can obviously build around that with any other moves. Very, very strong move and always gets stab damage, which is what makes it so special. So, obviously, Splash Plate does the water damage, and Draco Plate does the dragon damage. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't really feel like I need to go into detail on that too much. It's in the name, gosh dang it. It's in the name. Kamina wants to learn Last Resort. Okay, let's talk about this move really quickly, because no way she's learning it, but it's an interesting move. This move can be used only after the user has used all the other moves it knows in the battle. This is actually a situationally interesting move because base power of 140, why not? But again, you do need to have used all of your other moves. If there's one evolution I would be willing to teach this to, actually there's two that I'd be willing to teach this to, it's probably Umbreon and Flareon. Flareon just because of the physical affinity, but Umbreon because Umbreon is absolutely a Pokemon where you're going to be using multiple moves just in terms of setting it up. Like you're hardly ever going to throw Umbreon out there and then just have it attack over and over in the same way that I have with Kamina. You're going to actually have it set some things up, and that will require you using most of your moves, and at that point it can then dish out a last resort to actually do something. So it could be kind of nice on Umbreon, but obviously it's going to be good on Flareon. Farina wants to learn Earth Power. Okay, absolutely. We are definitely going to do that. So Earth Power is quite an improvement over Bulldoze. As nice as Bulldoze is for the lowered speed, I think I'm just going to move on to Earth Power just because it does a flat damage bump and is now his most powerful move. But now we can head on in here really quickly, and this is the Seaside Cave, but you'll notice right away that we cannot really head any further because we got a bunch of Roggenrola here and this guy. If you want past here, you have to defeat me and my Roggenrola, and we're sturdy as a rock. But my Roggenrola and I only battle strong trainers. That is my and my Roggenrola's policy. It is as sturdy as rock. So, like he says, you can't battle him unless you're strong, and by strong, as it means most of the time in the Pokemon series, you need to have beaten the Elite Four. Which is dumb because they're just Roggenrola, and I'm pretty sure Tomoe could solo that entire team even if they are 20 levels over. But whatever, I'm not going to complain about it too much. It's fine, we'll get by. Okay, I'm going to put Kamina back in the PC now, and then we're going to head down to Route 14 and move on from there. I got only a couple of Pokemon I want to go over in that area, mainly because it has a lot of overlap actually with Route 13, which is the one north of here, and I want to actually talk about a bunch of the new Pokemon in that area that also are in Route 14 once we get there. So it's going to be a little bit weird how I do the bios this time, because yes, I am aware that there are going to be a bunch of newly available Pokemon in Route 14, but I'm going to be ignoring most of them. The only two that I actually want to dwell on once we get there are Mienfoo, which I've obviously already done a bio for because it is actually exclusive and new here to Route 14, as well as Buizel. Buizel is a pure water-type Pokemon that evolves into Floatzel starting at level 26. This Pokemon is all about speed, and it has a very good physical attack stat. It just can't really stand up against much at all, with downright pathetic defenses and a very okay HP stat. The definition of a glass cannon, but it ties with Starmie for the highest speed stat of any water type in this generation. As far as its learn set goes, you're relying on Aqua Jet for a very long time, which is the water type equivalent to Quick Attack, 40 base damage and priority. It finally learns Aqua Tail at level 46, but that's the best it gets besides maybe the Waterfall HM. It also doesn't have a lot of TMs to choose from, and from move tutors it isn't much better. Maybe Ice Punch? I guess. It's a one-trick pony that doesn't have a lot to do, sadly. Most glass cannons have more options than this one, and while its attack and speed are good, there's a reason that this Pokemon line is considered a good early game option in other games in the series. That's more where it belongs. This late in the game, it's just not as easy of a sell, unfortunately, and there's a far better water type option that you'll have access to here in just another hour or so of gameplay. Swablu is a normal and flying type Pokemon that sheds its normal typing for dragon typing when it evolves into Altaria at level 35. Despite having some of the lowest total base stats of any dragon type Pokemon in the series, Altaria's stat distribution is very good, with great defenses and decent speed, and honestly just enough offensive power to get by. Calling back to my Pokemon Emerald playthrough where I used one, I love this Pokemon a lot, actually. It's very versatile and capable of learning a ton of interesting elemental TMs to round out its coverages, while generally being one of the better walls you can put on a team that actually does something. It's also very easy to train, as most dragon type lines are nowhere close to their final form by level 35. Just don't throw it out against any ice types in particular, and it can hold its own super well. And yeah, like I said, even Floatzel is a Pokemon that I would absolutely take over Jellicent any day of the week. I love Floatzel. I think it's a great Pokemon, and I'm still kind of sad that I didn't use one in my Platinum playthrough, but one of these days I'll probably make up for it. I don't know. If I ever do the really dreaded Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl playthrough, maybe I will, or maybe possibly in another game where I have the option to use it, because I am a big fan of that Pokemon and its design. It's not a great Pokemon. It's kind of, I mean, it's an early game water type pickup generally in Generation 4, so it kind of makes sense that it's not super great, but I don't know. I would very much like to use it. You are going to heal, aren't you? No. Oh, it missed and crashed and fainted. Oh, that was beautiful luck. I was totally banking on the Socialite healing her Lopunny, and she did not do that. So like I said, there are a few things around here we're going to want to get, and I don't think I need the dowsing machine for much, but I'm just going to check everything out just to be 100% sure. Okay, this guy right here. Do I want to battle him? But yes, I do. I am just going to use, because this guy, his Pokemon isn't going to be nearly as sturdy as that Lopunny was. It's actually a pretty easy one to take care of, so that's fine. But yeah, we got a number of trainers in here. In fact, I think there's like 4 or 5 more trainers left in this area that we're going to be able to battle right now, and this is just wasted experience if you just don't take care of it. Like, I know in every other instance, everyone's just going to be like, just go north, head towards Opelucid, but no, it is actually a good idea to backtrack right now because, well, Ooh, thank you for the speed raise. Good old Steadfast right there. I will take it. Now get out of here. But yeah. Oh, it survived. No. I didn't think there was a chance that was going to happen. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to use the Castelia Cone here. Because I don't think the Castelia Cone gets rid of Infatuation anyway, does it? No, it probably doesn't, but I don't think I have any more Awakening, so whatever. Let's just do it. Woke up. Double slap. This isn't going to do much damage because of the steel typing, so I'm not too worried about it. I think I should be able to survive, even if it hits 5 times. But yeah. You wouldn't really think to go back here, but they didn't put a barrier here, so like, why wouldn't you, I guess? I'll just chance it, I guess, and hope that this hits. Okay, there we go. We're good. All right. I will definitely heal Jack after this battle, because he could use it. And also with all the bios, I know this is going to end up being a really long episode. There's so many Pokemon to go over, and there's going to be a lot more in the next episode, too. This is kind of the most bio-intensive area. There's just so many Pokemon that are exclusive to this part of the map that it's just kind of hard not to go over many of them right now. But, honestly, this would be a great place to improve and build my team up a little bit more, but I'm just not going to. Oh, hold on. I do not actually want to fighting in this situation. Honestly, as much as I love Lucario, it is one of the worst fighting types in the game for dealing with other fighting types. Let's go with Challenger, and just in case this is a triple battle or something along those lines, I'm actually going to switch you like that. There we go. That's fine. Just put you lower in the party, because, sometimes these battle girls can be throwing out triple or rotation battles. And as much as I would be okay with that, normally I would much rather be throwing out my Braviary against it. Yep, okay, just a girder. We're fine. Just a girder. Yeah, we're probably going to finish this route in the next episode, too, because I am thinking that we are already well past the 20-minute mark at this point with how much I had to explain. But that's okay. Let's just knock this thing out, and then we'll call it. Hey, there we go. That's what I like to see. Beautiful. One shot. Good job, Challenger. More experience for Farina. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Play Pokemon Black and White 2. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it very, very much, and I will see you all in the next one.